bleed green? Are you an ultimate Eagles football fan? Well, you're in the right place. This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go.
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50 plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate.
We love to argue.
You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go.
And a good Monday morning, Birds Nation. Appreciate you streaming on in here on Birds 365. A schedule week. Going to be exciting on Thursday. Or is it? I'll get to that in a second. Jody Mac, Johnny Mac, McMullen, and McDonald here with you for the next 2 hours. Got two good guests coming your way. Our bud Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports, less than 20 minutes from now. And in hour number 2, the Marty Man, Rob Marty from Associated Press, going to jump on in with us. So do not leave the stream. Johnny Mac, on Friday, you got to do something you hadn't done in a while. Head on over to the NovaCare complex to see something other than the Panderer-in-Chief trying to make a statement with his wardrobe, and or Howie Roseman's falling short in attempts of humor. Not falling short with the movies he's making. He's very good at that, but Howie playing the Chuckle Hut this week, probably not happening. No, you actually got to see guys playing football. Not
by the way, you bring up, hey, real quick, you bring up Panderer-in-Chief. Hey, Nick hasn't done that, man. He's had 2 opportunities to wear Sixers gear.
Just straight Eagles stuff, huh?
Yeah, he's not doing it anymore. He's feeling himself. He doesn't need the pander anymore.
Oh, you think that's what it is?
I don't know. But
that was not one of the questions put to Nick Sirianni. Where's the Sixer garb?
It was not. Maybe we should have.
So
Zach did ask him. Zach Berman asked him about, do you learn anything from the Sixers run? So he did get asked about the Sixers, but he didn't get asked about the garb.
No clothing questions, huh? I just put it out there for a laugh. I wasn't really all that concerned about it.
I was just thinking about it. I had to think back. I had to look at pictures. He was not. It was just straight Eagles gear.
And I didn't see any questions him handling this week, but I remember the previous time he had just an Eagle t-shirt, and I said, "Oh, Panderer-in-Chief taking a pass on trying to ingratiate himself somewhere." But that's besides the point. The Eagles were actually on the field, or at least some Eagles were on the field. Guys who were temporarily Eagles, or at least being paid to come in and try out to be Eagles this week with the rookie mini camp. Anything of value? I know the action and activity is limited. There were some positional decisions that were made, at least on a short-term basis. What did you get out of the short-term look you got at the Eagles or potential Eagles that were working out Friday down to NovaCare?
We got 15 minutes, so it's exciting. I did learn what. Yeah, back in the day, we used to be able to watch the entire practice and rookie minicamp. No more. So it's really difficult. In fact, I asked Nick, like, how, you're out there for 45 minutes. There were, I think, 19 tryout players. How do you gauge those players? He gave an interesting answer, but it's really, really difficult. And, you're just trying to get people sort of, initiated to the way they do things, the way they practice. I mentioned the meetings are a big deal. I thought, Nick kind of fumbled with the Jalen Carter conditioning questions. I got in trouble for that, Jody, over the weekend. He should have just shut it down, right? Because he ultimately shut it down. Like, he went through the weeds like three, and he kept bringing up the entire teams. Nobody's ready to go on May, whatever it was at that time, May 5th. And he's right. Nobody's ready to go on May 5th. Maybe Devin Allen's ready to go. I brought that up. I mean, he's winning the Penn relay, so maybe he's ready to go. But not too many people are ready to go. So there's no issue. And he said, at the very end, he said, no concern whatsoever with Jalen Carter's conditioning level. That's where he should have started. But he went in the weeds, and he was talking about 7-on-7 drills. And I'm like, what the hell is 7-on-7? Jalen Carter's never going to be in a 7-on-7 drill. He's a defensive lineman. He just got in the weeds. I thought it was a mistake. People got upset like that because I didn't have the pom-poms out, Jody. So, I mean, look, he looks good to me. I mean, he carries his weight well. He's a 315-pound guy, but he's not, he looks in fine shape. I don't think it's going to be an issue. I understand why it's got to be raised, because he showed up to his pro day out of shape and he wasn't able to finish drills. These are legitimate questions.
Yep.
But ultimately, when I think he gets into an NFL building, which he's in now, in an NFL strength and conditioning program, I think he'll be fine. But it's something to keep an eye on. I mean, I brought up the Sixers. We're 8 years into Joel Embiid or something there, and we're still talking about conditioning with Joel Embiid in big spots. So it's something to keep an eye on. And I think it's fair, but can't gauge much. It's just the start. It's the kickoff point. It's the foundation for how they do things, basically.
More so, to me, I thought intriguing, more so than his conditioning. And I think the Eagles have, and you can speak to this better than I can, I think the Eagles have one of the better training and conditioning staffs in the National Football League. If a guy isn't quite up to snuff in the end of the first week of May, they'll get him there by the second week of September when the game gets underway. I have faith in that. And we asked the same thing about Jordan Davis last year. And I thought Jordan Davis was in fine condition by the first game of the season. He got hurt. Do I think that has anything to do with his conditioning that compromised his first year? I don't know that. So I think they did a good job of getting, because the same questions were asked about Davis last year that are being asked this year of their first-round defensive lineman from Georgia being picked. Eagles, the training staff and his teammates will get him ready. He'll be in condition and ready to go by the first week of the season. What I thought was more interesting was Adam Schefter reported last week that the Eagles' first-round draft pick had called them before the draft. That
not a good week for Adam. 0 for 2.
So you don't believe that? You think Schefter got bad information or flat out made that up?
I don't think he made it up. I think, first of all, he said these things on it, and he said the Gannon thing on a radio show. He said them both on a radio show. So, he's kind of speaking extemporaneously. He's not reporting things. He's just talking about the team. I'm sure at one point.
Whoa. Time out, Jody Mack. Saying something on a radio show is not reporting it?
No. I try to be very, very clear.
Johnny, I'll try not to spit on any of your reports, but you're spitting on my livelihood here. I'm just alerting you. I'm
saying you're speaking. There's a difference between officially reporting something as a journalist and going on the radio and talking about a team and talking about things you've heard and talking. I try to make that clear here when I say things. Sometimes I say I'm not reporting that. That's my thought. That's my speculation. I'm sure Jalen Carter told somebody at some point he'd like to play for the Eagles. I'm sure that's what Adam heard. Did he call him before the draft? I mean, that would be weird, number one. And and I don't know the exact wording, to be honest, of what he said. But yeah, Jalen was asked about it, and he said, "I don't remember that. He didn't seem to be lying." So and the Gannon stuff we talked about. It's
Before we get to the Gannon stuff, I want to further tie down this point. I don't know this. I probably should know this. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Are players allowed to call teams? In a world in which we deal with tampering every single day, the Eagles actually benefited from tampering of the Arizona Cardinals and got their draft pick moved up because the Cardinals broke the rule. Are the players allowed to talk to teams? Are teams allowed to talk to the players? Certainly, whoever makes the call would be the one who would start the process. But are they allowed to? Could that have possibly been it, that someone told Jalen Carter, listen, you weren't supposed to call the Eagles. Ixnay on the call the Eagles, we're not going to admit to that or cop to that if it's against the rules.
It's interesting. I'll check into that. I would say it's more problematic from the team standpoint. They have limitations. But I don't even know that. In this world of Zoom and all that kind of stuff, you get somebody's number, you text them, whatever. It happens all the time. Drew Rosenhaus has a long history with the Eagles. I think it was well known that, and that's where those initial reports came out of, when he wasn't allowing Carter to take meetings elsewhere outside the top 10. Everybody knew the Eagles were interested in Jalen Carter. So part of it is like, why would you need to? Number one. But secondly, just the logistics of it. I think that was more the issue than, maybe they texted at some point and said, hey, I'd love to play for you. Or, he probably might have done it with the entire top 10. Who knows? Hey, I'd love to play for you, Chicago. Yeah. I'd love to play for you, Seattle. I mean, I don't think it's a big story either way, but just the way he reacted to it, it didn't seem like he was, it was like an automatic no. It was like, it wasn't even thinking about it. And remember, he's a 21-year-old kid. Maybe it's a little bit more difficult if you got your hand caught in the cookie jar. And I don't even know if he did. I think it's a big nothing burger from both ends of the spectrum. But I mean, it was pretty clear he didn't make that call for whatever it was described. And that's fine. I mean, who cares?
Here's why we care, John, and neither you nor I apparently know the answer. Are there rules against it? If there were, then there could be some action taken by the league, because they have decided all of a sudden, after years of allowing teams to tamper, and you've done the combine before, it's the biggest tamper fest you've ever seen, and the NFL just turns a blind eye to it and lets general managers talk to agents who are representing free agents. Oh, we're not talking about him, we're talking about the other guy. When you know full well they're talking about players they're not supposed to be talking about, all of a sudden the NFL has got very sensitive toward tampering to the Eagles' benefit this year. And if he did make a phone call and he did talk to the Eagles, and there are rules specifically,
that would be a bad look for the Eagles, I would tell you, after complaining about tampering.
Exactly.
I mean, but who are you tampering at? He doesn't belong to anybody. So I don't know how much he can do about it.
Well, but again, we know the NFL has certain rules in place with the team calling the player, and you could defend yourself by, well, he doesn't belong to anybody. We can put in any calls we want. What do you mean we can't call him? So the NFL does have rules that limits the communication between players and teams before the actual draft.
Yeah, and there's weird, like obviously top 30 visits are top 30. They're limited to 30. Yeah. But you have all these Zoom visits now. It's a different world. When it comes to that kind of stuff. And when you're talking about a player, talking about a team, I mean, let's pretend that Jalen Carter made the phone call and said, I want to play for you, Eagles. and Seattle takes him at number 5. Well, you're shit out of luck. There's nothing you can do. I mean, you know, did he? I think, you know, Philadelphia gets excited over, and not everybody, but I think a lot of people get excited. You saw it with Micah Parsons wearing a Tyrese Maxey jersey.
Yeah.
They get excited about players who they think want to play here. And I think that's part of it as well. You know, Devontae Smith's still a Celtics man. You know, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Well,
Micah Parsons
plays both ways. You're right.
yeah. Micah Parsons is a Sixers fan. Mike Trout is an Eagles fan. How'd that work out? People have been talking, oh, he wants to play for the Phillies. Maybe he wants to play, but he can't. All right. I mean, that's, you know, if you grow up in an area, you like a team, or maybe you like a team for whatever reason. Jalen Hurts is a Houston fan. I hate to break it to you. Astros fan. Who cares? Ultimately, he could want to play for the Eagles, and I think that gets people jacked up. But if again, Seattle or anybody else in between, Detroit, Chicago, all right, well, they got your rights. There's not much you can do unless you have the number 1 overall pick and say, lobby them and say, you should take me. You should not take Bryce Young. Then maybe it could mean something.
And we know for a fact that Jalen Carter is going to be here a minimum of 5 years. Oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't say that. If he can stay on the straight now, he's going to be here the minimum of 5 years. And he did get his first Eagle workout in. One quick note before we get our first guest up. Jeff Kirk going to join us coming up in a couple seconds. About some people are more into and make a bigger deal about something, like a Michael Parsons in a jersey for the 76ers and the like. Here's one that I absolutely positively don't get. You and Reuben Frank are even more outspoken about this than I am. I actually do note the jerseys that the Eagles wear and the matching of the shirts and the pants. I don't tie it to the outcome of the game. Oh, the Eagles lost because they were in their no. I'm not doing that, but I do take note of it. And there are certain jerseys I like better, color combinations I like better. And then you play the game, and that's all that matters. You guys don't even care. Reuben's famous quote of 5 minutes after the game, I couldn't tell you what uniform they were wearing.
I'm 100% with Reuben on that.
Understood. I'm not far from you guys. I'm a little bit more in tune than you two. But what I care about almost nil is player numbers. And because the Eagle players showed up this week and the workout player and the undrafted free agents that were signed and those that were actually drafted were signed numbers, I don't care about a player. When I was a kid, and we're talking 50 years ago, I really care. I could tell you the starting lineups numbers of every single player on all the teams that I root for. Now, just pick any Eagle offensive starter, John McMullen. Pick one.
Jalen Hurts.
I don't know what his number is. I really don't. I honestly am telling you, I don't know what number Jalen Hurts wears. I don't pay attention to it a little bit.
Number 1, baby. Number 1.
Oh, that's right. He's number 1.
He changed from number 2.
Right. He used to be number 2, so now he's number 1. Shoot, yeah. I should have known that just because of that. But recalling off the top of my head the video of him dropping back, I'm watching the ball. I'm watching the offensive line. I'm watching his eyes. I'm not watching his number. I don't care.
No, I'm
what
with
number
you.
He wears.
You know, I'm with you almost 100%. There's certain guys I know what their number is just because they're such big stars. It's thrown into your face. I'm with you. When I was young, I used to know, like,
everybody's
I'm a big
number.
Julius Erving guy. So when he came here, it was all about 6 for me. I was a big Reggie Jackson guy, so it was all about 44.
And what number did Doc wear as a net?
32.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. And I started to think about, I also used to love all-star games when I was a kid. And I hate them now. I legitimately hate them now. It's not even about being, apathetic. I hate them. And I'm like, what changed? What changed? And I'm like, I was a kid. I didn't realize it was stupid. It looked cool.
Same here.
It's for kids, all-star games. It's not for adults because you figure out what nonsense it is. So same thing with numbers. I was into it as a kid as well. Now I could care less. And by the way, for the people that like jerseys and they want to get you, be very wary of these early numbers because, you know, you only have a certain amount of numbers. And if you want to buy somebody's jersey, they might change it when they cut down to 53. So be very, very wary. I remember when I first got to cover Randy Moss, who turned into obviously a legend. He wore 18 in training camp and ultimately ended up as 84. And everybody's like, they're all buying Moss jerseys, 18, and bang, 84. And that's the number he made famous out there. So be very wary, like Nolan Smith. You know, I felt bad for Nolan Smith because, you know, he was 4 at Georgia. He's got this nice 4 chain, number 4. Can't have 4 here yet. He might talk to Jake Elliott, might want to give him some bucks of that signing bonus. Who knows? But right now he's 3. And if you want to buy a Nolan Smith jersey, you know, just pump the brakes. Wait till the 53 at least.
Be a little patient. For those of us who bought Howie Roseman's explanation of Jalen Hurts' tremendous, inexpensive backup the night that they drafted him while everyone else was losing their mind, and the proud said, I kind of like the pick. If you bought that number 2 jersey, yeah, 1 year, and he's going to be thought of as number 1 for the Eagles for many years to come. But you can still rock that number 2 jersey down at the Eagle game. People are going to look at you like, what the hell's he doing wearing that? By the way,
I always, you know, for people that do want jersey advice, always buy the throwback. Then you don't have to worry about it.
That's very true. Yeah, locked into that one if the guy has since retired. Not retired, John McMullen, nor Jody McDonald, or Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports, who's going to join us next on Monday edition here on Birds 365.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia Dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the Mommy Slam Dunk Champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, go to left, fake a mom. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
got John McMullen and Jody McDonald, your Mac Birds 365 guys. We are joined by our bud from CBSSports.com, Jeff Kerr, to jump in with us and get schedule week underway. Except maybe not, Jeff Kerr. Did you read Peter King's Monday morning quarterback column this morning where he said they will probably release the schedule, but the whole 24 to 48 hour presentation of the schedule on the NFL Network might not come off as planned because they're still tinkering with the schedule 3 days out? Really? They've had all offseason to figure this out. With 3 days to go, they're going, yeah, sorry, NFL Network, we haven't quite finished yet. What do you make of that?
So I was the guy who put it out on, I think it was Thursday or Friday. Does anybody realize that the NFL actually announces their scheduled release date with all their programming, and they haven't done that yet? And some people were like, "Well, they wait till the week of." I'm like, no, they don't. This usually comes out. The only report we have is Schefter saying it was May 11th. That's because the league probably told them that was the tentative release date. I'll tell you what the issue is, Jody and John. It's this year for the first time, and I think King might have pointed this out too. Fox isn't guaranteed to get, and CBS isn't guaranteed to get, where their conference's road team, they get that game. It's a free-for-all now. So I think that's what the debate is. Who's getting the Chiefs? Who's getting the Cowboys? Who's getting the Eagles? Who's getting these big market teams? And they haven't fully decided that yet. That's usually set in stone.
Yeah, I think Jody's Jets and Lamar Jackson screwed it up as well, because now the Jets are relevant and they're going to be a big national television team. And so are the Ravens, maybe a little bit to a lesser degree. Whereas, they didn't pull it off. Not as exciting. If Lamar doesn't want to play, and all this stuff was unlikely, but still, until it happens, it doesn't happen. And now everybody wants the Ravens. They want the Jets. And that mucks up the works as well. Plus, you got the 2-game Thursday night rule now as well, Jeff, in that teams can play 2 games on Thursday, and they don't want those direct games anymore on Thursday night. So teams like the Eagles are probably going to be on Thursday twice, and that's complicating things as well. Good or bad for the relevant teams, all this stuff?
Yeah, I still don't like how – I'm trying to word this as best I can here. I don't like how teams get 2 games on Thursday nights. If, and only if, they would get that bye week before, or you have multiple bye weeks. And I've said before, when the NFL went to a 17-game schedule, I said, can we try the 2 bye week thing again like they did in 1993? And they just haven't done it. The NFL, for some insane reason, wants to – they want to go to President's Day with football, but really – is an extra week or 2 really going to hurt the product in the long run? People are going to watch it. Like, I don't think the NFL cares when the XFL starts, or, when NASCAR starts, or, the NBA All-Star game. I just don't think they care about that stuff. So I don't know. I just wish, if you're giving teams multiple Thursday night games, I think you should get at least 10 days before that game. That's just my opinion.
And I don't know this, but my opinion would be, the reason I don't want to add another week to the schedule is the most important games you're playing. The biggest is Super Bowl, but then you got championship games. You don't want to be playing them in a cold weather city with a conference championship on the line and it being 10 below zero. The further you push into January, the more likely it becomes that you're going to have that kind of a weather day. And I think the NFL is pushing the envelope. They think as far as they have with their shit, because the Super Bowl used to be played the first and second week of January. It's now into February, so they just continue to add and add and add, so they're getting into worse weather dates, and I don't know that they want to go any further. That would be my one guess. I've never spoken.
Well, then
never reported that from the NFL. No one has ever told me that I've reported in any way, shape, or form that that's the case, but that would be the way. That would be my guess as to why they don't want to go to another bye week.
This goes back to my theory, too. The NFL should start Labor Day weekend or maybe before that, but they won't do that because they don't like Labor Day weekend. They tried that in the 90s, and I liked it, but
Yeah,
apparently
I had
the
no
league didn't.
problem with it. Did you? Did Johnny Mac? Did you have a problem with getting your football season underway on Labor Day weekend?
No. In fact, I prefer it.
I'm the same way. I loved it. I remember Summerall and Madden would start. They'd be all excited. Oh, happy Labor Day weekend. And to me, Labor Day weekend was awesome because I was a little bummed school started, but the NFL started. So everything was good.
Quick story. I'll do this very quickly. One of the best days, funnest days I've ever had in my entire life. I'm on Long Beach Island, which is, for people who don't know, Washington's across the country. It's a town on the Jersey Shore that is almost equidistant between New York people and Philadelphia people. It's right in the middle. So you get people come down from New York who go to Long Beach Island. People come over from Philadelphia and South Jersey and go to Long Beach Island. It is split right down the middle. I was there on a Labor Day weekend for Eagles Giants in a great sports bar. And man, punches were being thrown, insults were being leveled. It was phenomenal. It's Labor Day weekend on the Jersey Shore. Eagles Giants in a bar that's filled with half Eagles fan and half Giants fan. One of the most fun afternoons I've ever had in my life. Didn't get cut. I tried to stay neutral.
You mean this is back in the day when people actually talk crap to each other's face?
Oh yeah,
behind avatars.
Yeah. Now it's Twitter. I got a lot of that this weekend, Jeff. By the way, I want to give credit to Jody's guy, Peter King. A lot of interesting information from Peter this morning. One, I like it because this is close to my heart. When he's explaining that he thinks there should be less cheerleading in the media. I agree with him wholeheartedly there. But boy, he was giving the Eagles flowers. No weaknesses in the same column. No cheer. He was cheerleading for the Eagles. No weaknesses on this Philadelphia Eagles team. I'm not going to go that far.
No, I'm not going to go that far either. Does he know who plays linebacker for the Eagles right now?
That would be my first thought. That's a pretty significant weakness. They're a good team, though. And he did his early power rankings. And the Eagles stand alone in the can't find a weakness category at number 1 overall. Then you got Super Bowl contenders, Kansas City, Cincinnati, San Francisco, Buffalo. I kind of have no issue with that group of teams. The Eagles have the far easier road than all the AFC teams. Let's be honest. San Francisco is a very good team. But they don't have a quarterback, and they're collecting quarterbacks to find a quarterback. Can't find a weakness versus legitimate Super Bowl contender. One's fair, one's probably not. How good is this Eagles team better than last year's team? Early thoughts.
I think yes. Right now, I would say yes. Just on paper, I think the quarterback can be better than he was last year, and he was pretty good last year. I think I really like their running game, the combination of Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift. And you run behind that offensive line. I'm still concerned of who the right guard's going to be. I don't think Cam Jurgens is set in stone there, but you're loaded on the offensive line. I think Nolan Smith can make an impact in a reserve role year one. I think Jalen Carter could actually start week 1, if we're going to be quite honest here. I'm a little concerned with the linebacker position. I do like what they did at safety, though. The drafting of Sidney Brown, the signing of Terrell Edmonds. I think Reed Blankenship was more than fine last year. Yeah, Slay and Bradbury are a year older, but you still got more depth there. You still got Vontae Max. You got Kaylee Ringo. I mean, really, the only actual complaint you could have about this football team outside of who's the linebacker is who's the punter, or should Aaron Zippus be the punter? So I would say, just judging around the league, looking at other teams, I think Eagles got better. I actually think the Cowboys got better, believe it or not. I don't think the 49ers got any better. I still think they're holding their high heels on, Brock Purdy played. Well, Brock Purdy didn't play because he got hurt, because you guys couldn't protect him in the second quarter of that game. It's been a blur already, John McMullen. What play? Oh no, it was 6 offensive play of the game, so it was first quarter. But overall, I think the Eagles got better.
They were tied in the second quarter. I think
that's right, on the McCaffrey touchdown.
Yeah.
So So I think the Eagles got better. I think Cowboys got better. I think the Chiefs, again, it's hard for them to get better. I think they got younger, but I still think they're really good. I'm a little concerned about their offensive line, though, even though they signed Donovan Smith, and they're probably going to move Taylor over to right tackle. I think the Bills stayed the same. I think the Bengals are still going to be really good. You know what? The Bengals did get better, obviously, because they got Orlando Brown. So I think there's about 4 or 5 of the really good teams that got better, but it could be Eagles Chiefs again. It's hard to think that can happen. I know that's kind of the safe pick, but it wouldn't be surprising to me if the Eagles and Chiefs. Grant, what day is it? May 8th? If they met in the Super Bowl again.
May 8th. We got Cursed Super. You can't change it either, Jeff.
Oh, no. I'm going to change it
We're
about
locked in.
5 or 6 times before now.
And this may be the Negadelphia in me dripping north to the turnpike. People are putting the Jets on a pedestal that I don't know. I know Aaron Rodgers is going to the Hall of Fame. He's an all-time great. I know he had a step-back year last year. If you want to blame it on everybody other than Aaron Rodgers, okay, fine. And I sure as hell know he's better than Zach Wilson. But this is Aaron Rodgers 2023, not Aaron Rodgers 2018 that the Jets are getting. And they're like the 5th choice in the betting markets to win the Super Bowl this year. Like 5th overall. Really? Does the addition of a 40-year-old quarterback really lift you that quickly, that high, Jeff Kerr?
No, I'll tell you what. I'll say this about your Jets, Jody. They'll make the playoffs. That's about it.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
how many
pretty good.
How many teams in the NFL make the playoffs?
Well, they haven't made it since 2010. I was 22 years old.
No, we're talking Super Bowl. We're not talking about improved. I give you improved. There's no question they're going to be improved. But we're talking about holding up the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the year. Did they move that much because of the addition of Aaron Rodgers?
No. Like, they're a good team. If they would have had a quarterback.
If they were in the NFC, I think we'd say they're the second best.
Can I
team.
petition that? Can they move the Jets to the NFC right now?
Yeah.
I'd like to see if we can make that happen. Johnny Mac, you know any way that you can actually see if you
I'd
get
like
that
to
done?
see it. I'd like to see it, actually, because I don't know. Who's the second best? Well, San Francisco. But who's number 3?
I go Dallas right now.
Dallas?
Dallas or Detroit?
Detroit's getting a lot of love. How about Seattle?
I like Seattle. I really like that team. And as we've seen last year, they were well coached, but they had a ceiling. But John Snyder and Pete Carroll, they know how to draft, and they're definitely a better team this year. That's for sure.
Yeah. Now, you're my go-to jersey guy. So, you know, Jody and I were talking. I don't care about numbers that much, except, and we mentioned punter, so I'm going to go here. Now, we all knew Aaron Cepas had to give up number 8 because Marcus Mariota was coming, and he gave up 8 to Marcus. Now, here's the concern if you're Aaron Cepas, and this will excite Eagles fans. They gave Aaron Cepas number 10, and he has to share that with Tanner McKee early in the process. That's not a good sign when they make you share a jersey. Now, however, Jeff, you know, the punter they brought in, Ty Zettner from Kansas State, they gave him number 49. So
that's a random number, too.
Yeah. So it's not like they're signaling, oh, Ty's going to be the guy. But I do think it's a signal that, oh, this really is an open competition. Or am I making too much of numbers, numerology?
No, you're not. Well, first off, if you've been on the team for several years, it's not like Marcus Mariota is the starting quarterback here.
No.
So why does Aaron Cepas, the starting punter, keep in mind starting punter, why is he giving up his jersey number to a backup quarterback? Like you said, he's splitting with Tanner McKee. That was already the red flag. I remember, I think I saw you tweet out the rookie minicamp roster because I was on vacation last week. Well, the end of last week. And I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. Also, Sidney Brown, they couldn't give him a number in the 20s. I know that's the...
See, I was telling Jody, be careful, jersey people, because when you cut down to 53... guys will change numbers. Sydney will probably go into the 20s, but right now it's your rookie. You got to take what's available, and he starts with number 43. But yeah, he's going to make the team, and I guarantee he changes his jersey number. I guarantee it.
Who was it that got? I'm trying to remember. Wasn't there somebody on the team that got a number they haven't used in a couple of years? It might have been Zach Ertz's
86. Joseph Ngata.
That's random.
Yeah, Joseph Ngata. We don't have a lot of numbers. Like, with all due respect to Zach Ertz, who was a phenomenal player, better guy, you're not retiring his number. You need the numbers. So
yeah, you're running out. Well, that's why they want 0. They want to retire more numbers.
Yeah.
I'll tell you when it becomes a problem. You can really read into it. When someone gets 143, if that's your number, you've got an issue. You got a problem. That's not going to bode well for you going forward. And I'm sorry. I just don't care about numbers. My buddy BLG, Brendan Lee Gouton, who's very good when he comes on the show with us here on Birds 365 and on my radio show, and I read Bleeding Green Nation every day, dedicated an entire column today to the numbers.
Oh, that's what he does. He's good at that. And he'll break it down. Like, he'll be like John McMullen here. Oh, 2 guys share 10.
Well, no, I'm with Jody usually. I don't care about numbers. Like, I don't care who picks what number. But when I see something like that, it does give me an indication that, all right, he's not on sound footing. So I think there's something to a veteran player having to shift his number and then share it with a rookie. I don't think that's a good sign, but only with stuff like that.
I've had players say to me, why do you have that number? And they just go, that's the number they gave me.
Yeah. Well, some guys don't care. Some guys, like I said, Nolan Smith showed up Friday with this really nice number 4 chain. And obviously he was number 4 at Georgia.
And he's wearing 3 right now.
Yeah. So
didn't Marcus Mariota wear a different number last year with the Falcons?
Did he? I don't know.
No, I think he was 8 last year.
He was 8.
You sure about that? I don't think so. I know he was 8 with the Titans prior to, but I think he was something other than last year.
I am certainly not 100% sure of that because I don't know.
I will double check for you right now, but I'm pretty sure he was 8.
Okay. Which is, again, if Marcus came in and said, I want to be number 8,
no, it looks like he was number 1.
Well, he was number 1. Good look there, Jody.
He was number 1.
Like I said, so I don't even know if he decided. He came in and said, I want to be 8. If he was 1 last year, he didn't think enough of it to make the Falcons as his starting quarterback go, damn it, you got to give me number 8. Unless, of course, did Steve Bartkowski wear number? I don't even know if the Falcons have ever retired the number 8. Again, who the cares about numbers? Let's talk about football.
I got one for you. So I wrote we have to write some jersey number stories for CBS, and I'm like, did you guys happen to see who's wearing 7 in Atlanta that hasn't been used since Michael Vick's been there?
No.
Bijan Robinson.
Oh,
really? He's going 7.
Yeah,
huh?
so I had to write that up. Oh, it's the first time someone's used the number since Michael Vick. We got to make a big deal out of it. And
by the way, Atlanta's an interesting team for me because they have so many good skill position players.
Yeah, they do.
But they stink. They're, but if they can turn it around, with all these players, I mean, they've been doing Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London at the top of the draft. Who else am I missing? Cordero Patterson. Yeah. I mean, they got playmakers all over the place.
Yeah, 1,000-yard rusher last.
You're still missing a position there, John, and that's quarterback.
Yeah.
You got to have the quarterback in place, don't you? All these skill position players are great. If the quarterback's the biggest skill position of all isn't a given, that doesn't bode well.
Yeah, you would think. Offensive, defensive line. It's just interesting because if it works, I think more people will be emboldened to go in a different direction. And I think fans are probably excited. I mean, they love the skill position players down. I'm sure they're excited down there.
I'm I'm still upset though. In my dynasty league for fantasy football, I have Tyler Algier and Algier. I forget how they pronounce it, but I got him late last year and in our rookie draft, and now he's a backup. There's no way he's playing over Bijan.
No, I would say that's pretty good. Pretty good bet. Pretty good bet. That's not going to happen. What else from Peter I wanted to ask you? We did the schedule. We did the he's got the Jets at number 9, Jody, which I think is a solid, but they're behind Miami. I'd put them ahead of Miami. But that's just me. Detroit at number 6 is another interesting team. That's who I wanted because I love Detroit.
I like that team too. And
Dallas Goedert told me last year he doesn't care what anybody says. That's the best team we played, talent-wise. And obviously they struggled early before they kind of figured it out. So on that hand, I think Detroit is way better than most people realize. They've been picking at the top of the draft for so long. You wake up one day and say, ooh, we got a bunch of good players. It's kind of what happened to Detroit. However, then I look at this year and I'm like, what are you doing? Jamar Gibbs at number 12, Jack Campbell at number 18. I don't know how to feel about this team.
And they had a good draft. They just got players in unorthodox positions. I was on Detroit
you think they had a good draft. You're not going to hold it against them that they took a running back higher than the league would take a running back, or they took a linebacker higher than the league would take a running back. You're just judging the players, not whether or not they got value at that position at that spot in the draft.
Well, that's what I said on the Detroit radio station. I thought they had a good draft. They're like, well, you're the first one to say that. And I said, but you could have got Jahmyr Gibbs later. I promise you it'll be at 18. You could have got Jack Campbell later. I promise you he would have been there. And they said, well, you shouldn't think like that because what if they're not there? I'm like, well, then you got to have another plan. But I guess they took the guys they liked. And I think Jack Campbell's going to be a really nice player in the NFL. I just wouldn't have taken him in the first round.
But here's the thing that Peter brought up, and I thought it was an interesting point. All right, last season, they had 1,608 rushing yards, 4.5 yards per rush, and 22 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns from Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. Why are you fixing what isn't broken? I think it's a good point. They paid Montgomery more than Williams got in free agency. And obviously Gibbs is probably going to be a better player than Swift. Sorry, Eagles fans. But to that degree, why are you fixing what isn't broken? I think that's an interesting
And Amon-Ra St. Brown told me this a month ago when we were talking about the Jamal Williams, David Montgomery thing, and he goes, I think it's really understated how big of a leader Jamal Williams was in that locker room. And I said, well, yeah, besides Hard Knocks, I'm sure, he said, yeah, we're going to miss him in there. But he said, we got David, they think he's a better player, or they think he's going to be more available to them long term. And, it seems like they are going to miss Jamal Williams, and, their loss is the Saints game. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't know why they decided, hey, we don't like DeAndre Swift anymore, or we don't want to pay DeAndre Swift, or, we didn't want to pay Jamal Williams, but we'll pay David Montgomery and we'll transfer. I think they could be more explosive now because of Gibbs, but I don't know. Who's the better pass blocker, Jamal Williams or David Montgomery? That's what I'm curious about too.
Here's the one thing that none of us know for sure, and I think a lot of time people just don't take this into consideration. Was Williams asking for more money than Montgomery? They got Montgomery done. He signed. He's in. Was Williams asking for more money, didn't get it from Detroit, and just sat out there because Montgomery signed first, Williams signed after? Yeah, he's not worth what he thought he was going to be worth on the open market. Shoot, we go between this all the time. CJ I think he thought he was going to get a hell of a lot more on the open market. The Eagles made the offer that they did. He ends up signing a one-year deal at a decent number, but not a great number. Well, we don't know what he was asking from the Eagles. He might have said, no, here's what I'm telling you. You're going to need to sign me. And then when it's not there, you have to go somewhere else. Maybe that's the way the Williams thing went.
That's a fair point. Jody, because, you know, he probably thinks, hey, I scored 17 touchdowns for this stinking team. They should value me more. So that's a good point. That is a good point. It's potentially he would have wanted more, and maybe they went in a different direction. They put, you know, who knows? Maybe they put 2 deals down. Whoever takes it first, they'll go in that direction. I do think it's interesting, though, because they were so successful running the football last year with what they had. And part of that, they have a very good offensive line. Yeah, very good.
I would argue they're top 3, top 5 in the league.
Yeah. I was spouting that week 1. I said, woof, that group. And I didn't even realize how good Penei Sewell was going to be at that time.
And he was a stud last year.
Yeah, he is an unbelievable player. Overall, I like what they're doing, but I can't get behind their first round thought process. I cannot.
It's very unorthodox. It would have been great in 1995.
Yeah.
And I think Gibbs is overrated. That's why I don't necessarily. I had him as a borderline first or second round pick. He goes that high. Whether it's the Lions or anybody else, I would have said if you're taking him that high, you're not going to get the kind of value that you should for using that high a pick in the draft. All right, Eagle Johnny was down there on Friday, rookie camp. Some people already questioning the condition of their first round draft pick because he's as big as he is, and everybody wants to know because he had the pro day that didn't go as well as expected, couldn't finish the drills and the like. Should there be concern? Is this a legit question? I think it's a legit question, but is it just like, can we inquire about this, or are there serious red flags about this? How do you take the Eagles' #1 draft pick and his conditioning at this stage of the year, Jeff Kerr?
I'm not worried about it now. This is a problem when they get the pads on, when they're doing nonstop drills for an hour, 15 hour, 30 minutes, and he's gassed. I might be a little bit more concerned, but I think it's fair to ask him about what he's doing to fix his conditioning or what happened during that pro day, and, you know, obviously all the other incidents aside, but I think it's fair to ask him, but I'm not going to expect anything now. Come July or August, maybe I think it could be a problem, but I mean, the guy's got 3 months. I mean, the guy was in tremendous shape at Georgia. I don't see why he would be out of shape now.
Yeah, he doesn't look out of shape either, just
no,
from
he did not.
Cosmetic standpoint, but, you know, it's not cosmetic. NFL level conditioning is a lot more than that. With rookie camp, we got to see a little bit of the top picks, Nolan Smith, obviously, along with Jalen Carter, but also, and you mentioned Sidney Brown, Tyler Steen did start at right guard. Again, there's 43 people there, so, but that to me is the most interesting pick because I keep going back to Brandon Brooks and Isaac Seumalo. The Eagles want size at that position.
He's got it.
And Cam doesn't have it. Am I making too much out of that, Jeff Kerr?
Not at all. So the first notice I had was when they drafted him. I was like, oh, okay, he might be kind of like a swing guy, kind of like Jack Driscoll, might be a tackle, might be a guard. Then they listed him as guard, and all of a sudden my red flags went up, like the jersey number thing. Is Cam Jurgens, are we sure he's guaranteed that starting job? And I don't know. Like, if I had to make a bold prediction for the Eagles this year, and I don't even know if it's bold, like for training camp, I think Tyler Steen could be the starting guard come week 1.
All right, Jeff Kerr, last question for me. I asked this to a couple people last week, and you're a good guy to ask it to as well. I'm going to make you Jeff Lurie. So sorry, I tacked on about 30 some odd years.
$6 billion in the bank.
I'll take the money.
You're driving a much nicer car if I make you Jeff Lurie. Here are the purposes of the transformation. You had a call this afternoon from Roger Goodell, who says, Jeff, we can't believe this. We still haven't gotten the schedule done. These TV people are such a pain in my... but I feel bad. You had such a great year last year. You didn't win. John McMullen said you were the better team, but you didn't win the Super Bowl. So I feel really bad for you. I'm going to give you your choice. you can open up this year against either the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday night, the national game, the big focus, the spotlight, everything else, kind of a tough game, or if you want to take on that Gannon guy who screwed you by talking to the Cardinals when he wasn't supposed to, I gave you a little something, left you make a better draft pick than you did. But if you really want to stick it in his ear, week 1, Arizona's playing in your house, it will let you schedule the first game of the season. You want the Cardinals at home, basically a layup victory to start the season, or a true tester in the national spotlight? Chiefs weeks 1 on Thursday night, first game of the year. Jeff, I'll let you dictate your first game. Who do you want to play?
Give me the true test. Give me the Chiefs. And because I've been watching Andy Reid for 23, 24 years now, I know he's not always his sharpest early in the year. Patrick Mahomes is.
A little Andy Reid shot, huh?
But Andy isn't.
Wow.
So when the Chiefs started 2-3,
that's horrible.
not last year, the year before, I actually said, let's not overreact to the game. I've seen Andy Reid do this for years. The 0-2 Eagles, they were started, I think they were 3-3. But he's had really good teams that started slow, and they were always the best team in the second half of the year. So get me Andy before he really gets to be Andy here. But Patrick Mahomes is dangerous in September because I look at it as I can beat John McGann anytime I want.
I think it was Kevin Kincaid last week, so I'll give him credit. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jody. I think he was the one who said, he would pick the Chiefs because the Chiefs-Eagles is more relevant, so from a business standpoint. But I'll add into this. Jeffrey Lurie doesn't dislike Jonathan Gannon, so he doesn't give a rat's ass about sticking it to him. And he knows he's going to beat the Arizona Cardinals. He was trying to give him a raise to stay.
When you want to get off on the right foot, after having lost the last game that you played, I think everyone remembers how, and why.
I think the business aspect overrides because even if you lose, you'll recover.
For Jeff Kerr traveling purposes, I'd rather have the Chiefs week 1 on Thursday Night Football.
Because you're going or not going?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going Arrowhead this year. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Double check, and we'll remember not to book you on that day. Jeff Kerr, always a pleasure, brother. Appreciate your hopping in. Any 300 games since we last had you on, which was about 3 weeks ago?
No, I'm kind of in a minor slump right now.
Ooh, slumping Jeff Kerr. Yeah. But much like Andy Reid, slow start, finishes strong. Yeah. We have faith in your Kerr. JK, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Jeff Kerr here with us on Birds 365.
It's early May. Jeff doesn't have to bowl 300.
Exactly. He's building up over the course of like what the friggin' bowling season is.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, I know you don't know, nor do I, nor does anybody else other than Jeff Kerr. He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald, coming right back here on Birds 365.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Score and save at Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
You got your Mega Mac guys here on Birds 365. John McMullen, Jody McDonald. We're going to get our boy Rob Motti up here in a little under 20 minutes. Lead writer for the Associated Press covering the National Football League. Should be always interesting talking to the Mighty Man Eagles and the upcoming NFL draft schedule release. And yeah, Jeff Kerr was right, because I watch way too much NFL Network. I have it on in the background whenever we're doing a show, and when I get off the air with you, it's always on. So I'll sit down, Good Morning Football, all their shows all day. It did seem like they were a little lax in promoting the schedule release on Thursday, because over the last couple of years, it has become 24, if not 48 hours of programming for them, because that's all they talk about. And they break it down, and they bring in guys talk about specific a week 11 matchup between two teams in the NFC North, and they're going to go 20 minutes of conversation. I'm going, really? We're making this big a deal out of it, but it is what it is. That's their they are the NFL Network, so they're going to go deep dive on almost everything. They were a little less in doing so last week. I expected even more, because I remembered from last year, just over and over and over and over and over again. Is this going to hit the fan here on Thursday, John? Are they going to push it back because they're still infighting on TV dates and European game day? In Peter's column this morning talked about the games that are supposed to be played overseas and not asking them to do too much. And the Chiefs are supposed to play 2 years in a row in Europe. Do they really want to do that? Is like CBS going, no. We don't want a 9:30 in the morning game with Kansas City. We want Kansas City 4:00 Eastern. You're tinkering with our ratings. Is there a chance that this stuff might not get done on time by Thursday?
Yeah, there's a chance. And I know I've told you numerous times, Jody, and when people make those lists of the most powerful people in sports, they're all wrong. They should all be thrown into the circular pile right away. The most powerful people in sports are the guys who sign the checks, the TV executives. And what they want, they tend to get. And obviously there's a lot of haggling, because they all pay a lot of money for these games, and they all want the marquee games, and they all want the marquee games in the spot that will get them the biggest ratings, which is generally prime time. And there's a lot of moving parts there. You got to make everybody happy. In some ways, it would be better for the NFL if they could narrow it down to a couple partners, but then they wouldn't make as much money. So it's a give and take. And because they have so many people they got to make happy, all of a sudden, how do you make so many people happy? You can't. And that's the problem. That's why it takes so long.
And I give Goodell and his staff, and believe me, it's not Roger who's handling this stuff. He's got people that he has getting into the weeds on all of these details and the like. He's the overseer, but he's not sitting down on a daily basis with the television executives and his committees and the like to work through this stuff. Others are doing it, and then he comes in and oversees everything. You're right. There are now so many cooks. Too many cooks spoil the broth. Fox, CBS, NBC, ESPN/ABC, and Amazon, and they're all fighting for their little piece of the pie. And oh, by the way, their little piece of the pie, and I chose that phrase specifically, is billions of dollars. Even though it's just a little piece of the pie, it's billions of dollars, and that's why they had this infighting. And I'll take everybody off right now, and then don't kill the messenger here. You know who gets shortchanged, John? You, me, all the Eagle fans, John Q. Public. They get the short end of this stick because the thing that they're striving for, or at least from the television side, what the guys are grasping for is flexibility. Because you and I can sit down and look at the schedule right now and say, here's a December game between this team and that team. Man, that's a must-watch game. You got this team again. And then injuries happen. And then teams aren't as good as expected. And all of a sudden, that second week of December game is like, yeah, why would I want to broadcast that game? You're talking about 2-10 against 4-8. When you thought before the season, so a rivalry game, they're both going to be good fighting for the division. Uh-oh, now that game stinks. Well, the team that paid the television outlet that paid billions of dollars for that game wants to get out of it in the worst way. And they get Goodell on the phone. Hey, you know how much we paid you this offseason. You got to let us flex out of this game. This is not a worthy game of a primetime slot, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. So flexibility is what the television networks want. They want to be able to move around and get better games and throw a mediocre game back into the hopper. And they don't care about your schedule. And I'm talking to you, whoever.
No.
Now that you're going to go out of town that week, you're going to go with the Eagles, you're going to take in that game, you're looking forward to it. That game just became a Thursday game. What the hell? Why is it a Thursday? Now, why is it a Monday night game rather than a Sunday game? Yeah, and there are some owners. I do believe there are some owners that do care about their fans, that fight for their fans, and they are willing to give up something on the back end payment-wise, but there's a whole bunch of owners that just say, do whatever makes us the most money.
Yeah, to a degree, there are some owners, I would say. I would just add that caveat. There are some owners better than other owners to a degree, but ultimately, they're going to go with the biggest check, and they're going to agree to the rules, how they set them up. You know, in a lot of ways, the networks fighting about the games is similar to bands, and what you bring up is exactly right. You know, and we're going to do it. Everybody does it. We're going to play the win and loss game. And it, you know, but I say beforehand, you know, it's meaningless. Tell me who's healthy that week, because what you said is going to happen. I don't know where, but I guarantee it's going to happen. Somebody who we think is going to be good isn't going to be good.
Can I give you the team from last year? And boy, was I woefully wrong about this. The Denver Broncos. They go out and get Russell Wilson. I thought that maybe Nathaniel Hackett would be a good head coach, and I'm hoping he's a good offensive coordinator going back to the Jets, but he was woefully overmanned as a head coach. I had Denver competing with Kansas City for that division, making the playoffs. If I had a chance to broadcast the Bronco game last December, I couldn't get away from it fast enough.
Yeah, and vice versa. Somebody's going to be good that we don't expect to be good. And, you know, but all they can do right now is fight for the games that they think are going to be good. And they might be wrong. But, you know, in the moment, that's all you can do. And then you mentioned the flexibility part of it as well. Yeah, they pay a lot of money. So they're going to try to make them happy. Every single one of them. It's interesting. I think, you know, people look at the NFL and professional sports as these juggernauts, and they are, especially the NFL. I don't think people realize how financially tied even the NFL is to the television industry, because there's been a lot of speculation that, and we've talked about this before, that people are predicting it for years. Streaming. It's going to go streaming. Everybody's going to stream. Young people stream. Old people are going to die out like you and me, Jody, and it's going to be all streaming. Hasn't happened yet. They keep predicting it. If the linear television industry collapses and the checks aren't there from the streaming giants, the whole complexion of all sports changes.
John, you know the checks are going to be there from the streaming giants. They're already there. Amazon is already there.
Not to the degree of the linear networks. They're still not. They're the cheapest of the group. And there's been this theory of, well, it'll be because remember, you need 4. It's got to be Amazon. It's got to be Netflix. It's got to be Max. It's got to be something else, Paramount, whatever. It's got to be Peacock. It's got to be, and they all have to be willing to spend as much as the linear TV. And the assumption is they will. And probably, if you ask me my prediction, 95% they will. But there is that little room of uncertainty. Greater empires than professional sports have fallen in the course of history. And all I'm trying to say is, if it changes, if the landscape changes, and all these TV executives, and this is why they have such power, wake up one day and say, you know what? We're not getting our bang for our buck. Screw this. We'll pay you half. The whole complexion of the industry changes. Every professional sport, whole complexion changes.
Yeah, usually I'm the hypothetical guy. I think you're the hypothetical guy here. Do you really see that happening? What's the percentage chance of that happening? The network's going, yeah, we're in a better position negotiating wise. We can actually pay less.
Well, here's
when
why
something got cheaper these days on that kind of a level.
Well, exactly. Professional sports is the exception, Jody, not the rule. Everything has gotten cheaper. They don't spend as much money on scripted programming. They don't spend any money on scripted programming. Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns, pretty big company, TNT, TBS, NBA rights, NHL rights, they gutted their whole scripted television department. They don't do scripted television anymore.
Well, because they got sports programming.
Yeah, but you're saying it at everywhere in television has been gutted except professional sports. The assumption is, and it has been to this point, so I get why people won't even think about it, is it'll keep going up and up and up and up and up. But, I did a lot of TV reporting earlier in my career. I know a lot of the people that are in, and they're concerned. Now, they think it'll always be fine for the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, the top tier entities. But those second tier entities, like the whole crux of spring football has been, well, if they can give us $50 million, we can make money. They won't do it. They don't do it. They haven't done it. So these second
tier, aren't the USFL and XFL being broadcast right now?
Yeah, but they're not. They're on barter deals, or Dwayne Johnson is essentially, and his company is essentially floating the money with the hope, same thing with Vince McMahon, that down the road they can get the big TV rights deal. They don't have it yet. Now they have such big names they can barter. Hey, we'll put it on. We'll pay production costs because it's so cheap for them, the networks. That's why it's on. They're not paying for the product. They pay for the NFL product. That's the key. TV rights fees is the key to it all. Now, as you know, you're a wrestling guy. I'm a wrestling guy. Tony Khan as well. His whole business plan is tied to somebody paying for TV rights.
Right.
Right now, he's getting $45 million a year. He's losing his what. The hope is when the new contract comes up, He doubles or triples or quadruples, and then he'll be fine. If he doesn't, he's up you-know-what creek. TV rights fees rules the world when it comes to professional sports. And if it ever changes, people got problems.
I understand the point you're trying to make, and a lot of it is valid, but I don't think I have a bunch of streaming services. I don't pay a ton. I pay enough. And Amazon I have because my wife has been using Amazon Prime for delivery purposes for years. So that comes along. I'm already paying for that anyway, that I didn't worry about because it's the wife's decision. But they pay a lot for an inferior product. And that's why they're fighting the fight these days is they got Thursday night, which is the redheaded stepchild of NFL broadcasting. And they're writing a big enough check that they're flexing their muscle going, wait a minute, we're not getting enough for what we're paying here. You got to do better for us, NFL. And that's why they had the conversation at the owners' meetings. We need to do something else for Amazon here, maybe giving them flex. And then coming up with a compromise position of, well, maybe we'll put a good team on there twice rather than just once a year. Oh, I think that trending, and again, if you're not a fan of trending, I got bad news for you. It's the future. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I think it's only going to get bigger. Can it someday take over everything? I don't know that yet, but I certainly believe that Amazon is not sweating their partnership with the NFL as of right now.
No,
they're trying to
NFL,
leverage it into a better position.
Don't get me wrong. The NFL's the king. The NFL has nothing to worry about right now. It's the secondary sports that have a lot to worry about right now. A lot to worry about. Even the NBA, there was a little bit of concern with the NBA in Major League Baseball, but they have nothing to worry about right now. But right now is right now. And, nobody knows where this is going 10 years from now. There's a lot of uncertainty when it comes, because all you have to do is look at TV rate. They've been gutted to the point of, 33 million people used to watch, network television on a daily basis. The top shows. If you want to go back further, I'll always remember, and you'll remember the show MASH. It was so popular in its time. Still, I believe today, the finale of MASH is the largest viewed television program ever. Super Bowls have gone over it, but scripted television show. It was like 60 million people. Now, if you get 2 million people, 2 million, that's a success. At some point, again, the NFL's one of the reasons the NFL is so popular is because it has been the only product that has not suffered when it comes to television. And that includes baseball. They've all suffered. Right. Basketball, they've all suffered. The NFL has not. And that's why they have the strength they have.
People's downtime, how they spend their non-working hours, has become completely fragmented, except for the National Football League. They hold their own. It doesn't drop off. Everybody else trends backwards into what they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 25, 40 years ago. Yes, you are right, John. Not the NFL. And that's why it's just a balancing the feelings, the wishes of their partners. But do I think they're worried at all about what it's going to be like 10 years from now? Nah. They know that they've got the golden goose, and they play those cards quite well. He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. Coming up next, Rob Addy from the Associated Press, their lead NFL writer, jumps in on Birds 365.
Weather forecasting is a team game.
We rely on each other every day, updating the models and passing along new critical information.
We have a team of 5 experienced meteorologists and a specialized weather producer, Paul. Say hi, Paul.
Sometimes what I see in the model, Cecily could see something different.
That's when we come together as a team to make our most accurate prediction.
And all of this backed by more than 100 AccuWeather scientists. It's a team game.
And we have the best team in
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Celebrating the life of your loved one is what we do at Life Celebrations by Givenish. When the matriarch of the Dalloway family died suddenly at 82 years old, Life Celebrations by Givenish stepped in.
They will make this the easiest thing that I know it's not easy, but they will make this as easy as possible.
Life Celebrations by Givenish, customizing services as unique as the individual.
I just know that my dad, who is in charge of everything, was not in charge of anything at that point when my mom passed. And again, just another shout out to this place for making it easy.
Turning tragedy into a celebration of life, no matter how hard, is what we do at Life Celebrations by Givenish. Life Celebrations by Givenish, customizing services as unique as the individual.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Monday edition of Birds 365 here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. You got Mac and Mac and Pat. It's a triple Mac attack. Pat McAfee. Oh no, it's Rob Marty. It must have been the muscle shirt that kind of threw me off there. Is that you, Marty?
Hey, what's up, fellas? Happy Monday.
How are you, buddy? Appreciate it.
Good to see you, Rob. Good to see you.
Doing good.
Where should we start? I'm going to start with Peter King because we talked about it. His Football Morning in America column. He did his way too early power rankings. We all know what they're worth, but at number one in the top category, which I believe he described as no weaknesses, the Philadelphia Eagles. Do you find no weaknesses on this particular team right now?
Yeah, I had to jump into that way too early stuff this year, and I kind of felt uncomfortable because all these years I'm talking about way too early this, way too early that. Next thing you know, the day after the draft, we're putting out a way too early mock for next year. I'm like, oh, now I'm that guy. But no, I don't think any team can have no weaknesses. And when you lose, let's just start with you lose your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
I know Jonathan Gannon's been a whipping boy for Eagles fans lately, especially with how things transpired. But there's a transition there, right? When you lose your two coordinators and when you lose on the Eagles side as many defensive players as they did, I wouldn't call it a weakness, but there's a transition. There's going to be an adjustment. There's going to be guys who have to step up and get acclimated and play some more. So while it's a cool term to say no weaknesses, and it's easy to fill in that line as a little blurb or whatever, I don't think the Eagles are a unflawed, perfect team at this point. And we always see whoever loses the Super Bowl, there's always that little bit of a hangover the next year. I got to go back and look at it, but teams who've lost the Super Bowl have not done well even getting to the playoffs the following year. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for the Birds this year.
All right, here's where I'm going to go with Peter's use of the phrase "can find no weakness." I get it. He wanted to put them in 7 groups, so he had to come up with a moniker for each of the 7 groups. Don't know that I would use that one. Find no weaknesses. former Panther linebacker, and I guarantee you I might be the only guy in town who knows that the Greenville University nickname is Panthers, where Nick Morrow came from, Division III, outstanding linebacker at the Division III level. You can't have Nick Morrow as a starting linebacker and say no weaknesses. Can you, Rob Motti?
Yeah, well, there you go, Jody. you found one for me. I don't think you can say no weaknesses at all. You know, I'll go back to that, and you look at this team and you look at some of the areas where they were able to improve. They improved strengths, I thought, and that's a good thing for them in the NFL draft. When you get two more pass rushers, when you get two guys more on the defensive line, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, who are going to bolster and upgrade, especially the way they like to rotate and the way they like to go in and play that way. I thought they upgraded a big-time strength of the football team. They certainly weren't going to go in and add another linebacker. They just don't do that in the draft. I know everybody thought that they might go and get a running back. They didn't do that via the draft, but they did via a trade. So, yeah, Jody, when you got Nick Morrow as the starting linebacker, that's a little bit of
maybe if you're Greenville University, it's not a weakness, but yeah, for the NFL, it's probably not where you want to be at that particular position. And by the way, I think Howie Roseman is going to add, I don't know when, I don't know where, but I think he's going to add a veteran linebacker at some point. And we'll see how that shakes out. You know, one of the more interesting stories over the past 24, 48 hours, Rob, I wanted to pick your brain about Andrew Luck in Washington, checking in to see if he would perhaps want to come back and play. He's still only 33 years old. Had Jim Irsay tweeting about potential tampering, which we know all about here in Philadelphia now with Jonathan Gannon. One, are you surprised? And two, if they're uncovering every rock, the Washington Commanders, to try to find Andrew Luck or somebody to play the quarterback position, why did they stop at Sam Howell? What am I missing here?
Well, I thought that report, John, was last year.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Okay. Yeah. No, you're right. And then this year they decided. I think this year going with Sam Howell is kind of saying, hey, we're in rebuild mode. I don't care how they want to spin it. When you're in a division with three other teams that made the playoffs, one went to the Super Bowl, and you're going to go with Sam Howell as your starting quarterback, you're in rebuild mode. You're fourth team looking up. But that is a very interesting report that if they had called the Indianapolis Colts and inquired about Andrew Luck, everything's fine. If they went out and reached out to Andrew's representatives, as Jim Irsay indicates by putting out that tweet, and I think he would know who was contacted, that does violate the tampering policy. So now what does the NFL do? How do they react to that? Because when it was Tom Brady and the Miami Dolphins, it was a first-round pick. Are Washington, the Commanders, going to be docked the first-round pick? Will they be allowed to work things out with the Colts, as we saw that the Eagles and the Cardinals were able to work something out with Jonathan Gannon for that phone call and whatever else may have transpired there? I think this is pretty interesting, and it opens up a little bit of it's going to open up a whole lot more potential cases because, guys, teams talk to other players one way or another. You reach out, hey, is this guy going to potentially be interested? Is he going to hit free agency? When these deals get done right at the turn of free agency like that, Jody, I mean, these have been conversations that have been ongoing. It's not the 2-day tampering period.
Whoa. You mean T.J. Edwards didn't get a deal done in 7 minutes, Rob?
Imagine that, dotting all the I's and crossing the T's.
Yeah.
So I think this opens up a ton of potential more cases. So it's going to be very interesting to see how does the NFL move forward with this. Is there going to be an investigation? Is there going to be any kind of potential penalty? And I got to reach out to Jim Irsay because he's not one to he's not one to hold back. So let's see what.
Yes.
Yeah, let's see what he says about this.
Get some good quotes out of him. And Rob, I know you've been. I've never been. John has been. The best tampering fest is the combine. You see the general managers huddling with the agents, and you go, oh, "Who are they talking about?" Well, they got no players on their team that are represented by him. Oh, might it be a free agent that's available that would fit for that team? Oh, no, they weren't having that conversation. It's so blatant at the combine. Why do you think the NFL is now cracking down?
If they are, right? Because they haven't.
Well, I think you have to at least give it some credence because of what they negotiated between the Eagles and the Cardinals. That had never happened. A phone call between a general manager. You tell me that's never happened before? A coach who's prepping for a playoff game at a time you're not supposed to be talking. There's never been a call like that made before. The Eagles called them on the carpet. Yeah, the Cardinals self-reported. That happened, I'm sure. Somebody blew the whistle on them, and the NFL felt that they needed to act. What do you think changed?
I think the Eagles raised a big stink about it. I think it depends on who the aggrieved party is. If it was in a case where the team and the coach left and they're like, yeah, whatever, or they won the Super. Had the Eagles won the Super Bowl, this may have been a different.
Not even a story, Rob.
Yeah, it would have been a different. Yeah, exactly. So I think the way that worked out, the Eagles are pretty ticked off about it, and no matter what they say or the face that they put out publicly, can't be happy with that. Raise enough of a stink, and you're going to get something done, and they were able to do that. Now, clearly, Jim Irsay has followed along because he's now creating an impression that he's not happy with that. So now the NFL's being put in the spotlight here. What are you going to do if this really happened? If it unfolded that way? They did set a precedent a year ago with Tom Brady when they docked Miami a first round.
Yeah.
Once you do that, now you got to take everyone seriously, and teams would be wise and would be smart to raise this thing.
Well, Jody brought something up, and I don't know, so I want to run it by you, Rob. There was Adam Schefter mentioned that Jalen Carter called the Eagles to say he wanted to play with them, whether it was draft night or shortly before. Do you know the timing, Jody? I forget the timing.
No, I don't either. He just said before the draft.
Yeah. Potential draftees calling teams. Are there any restrictions to that? I don't know what could be accomplished. Now, Jalen denied it. I mean, if Seattle wants to take him at 5, they take him at 5. It doesn't matter who he wants to play for. But do you know any sort of the restrictions or the rules when it comes to that, to potential draftees contacting teams maybe they want to play for?
Yeah, that's a great question. I haven't heard of any kind of restrictions on that. And I've heard other stories where I'm forgetting who it was, but it may have been a quarterback who had fallen in the draft and called the team and said, whatever concerns that they may have had, I'll take care of that, or something along those lines. I don't see, but did Jalen Carter, the more intriguing part of that is, did he call them before the draft entirely? Hey, I'm fine going 10, or was it when they were on the clock at number 9 or closing in after Seattle didn't pick them? Because when we looked at that draft going in, I had Seattle at 5, Eagles at 10. Those are the 2 top 10 teams that look like. So once it went through Seattle and they went with Witherspoon, is it then that he made that phone call? I think that's an interesting point to that.
Yeah, Schefter said it on radio station here in Philadelphia, and I just thought it was very interesting because Jalen came out and said, no, I don't remember making that call. Don't know what he's talking about. So I thought it was very interesting and something that we will probably keep our eye on going forward. All right, I want to run this by you, Mr. Mahdi, because I've done this with a couple other guests that we've had, and I'm back to Nick Morrow and Greenville University and the fact that the Eagles, I think, still need an upgrade at linebacker. Patrick Queen of the Baltimore Ravens. They chose not to pick up the 5th-year option on his contract. They drafted his potential replacement, the kid Simmons, in the 3rd round from Clemson this year. If he were to come out on the open market, I'll give you the deal. You tell me who doesn't pull the trigger. Eagles give the Ravens a second-round draft pick, but the Ravens give the Eagles back a third-round draft pick. So that's about 120 points on the draft value chart, which is equivalent to a third-round pick. I would say just Eagles give them a third-round pick, but the Eagles don't have a third-round pick to give right now. So you got to finagle it a little bit. Is Patrick Queen walk year worth a third-round draft pick to a team like the Eagles?
So they're getting Patrick Queen and
a third for
a for a second. Yeah, I'd make that deal. And we've seen, John, you just mentioned a little bit earlier how you believe they'll still add a linebacker. We've seen Howie do that, waiting until June, even into August. When was Ronald Darby acquired? The Super
August,
Bowl year? That was
in camp,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously last year, Chauncey was August 30th.
DJ,
so,
right? Late.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of been a little bit of an MO. Go get these guys on potential walk years. Patrick Queen's a guy who started 50 games already in the NFL. He's a big time upgrade for a team that looks like it is a certain Super Bowl contender. Some people think they have no weaknesses, so why not go out there and build on this team?
Well, they don't need them, Rob. They don't need them. They have no weaknesses.
Well, since we don't agree on that point right there,
Right.
and we think, a third round pick, you're getting. I would make that deal.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think Howie values. You mentioned Ronald Darby. They valued the cornerback position. That's an interesting trade because he got injured early in the season, but came back. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl. So
Was that just for J-Matt? I forget. Was it just a straight up Jordan Matthews for Ronald Darby trade?
No, they had to give up a draft pick. I have to double check. And they gave up a pretty significant pick. I'll have to double check.
It was Jordan Matthews and a pick, huh?
Yeah. And Darby was, I think they thought he was going to be a really good player. So, they probably overpaid a little bit, at least at the time. And, you can argue, let's see, and a third round pick. So it was Matthews and a third round pick. So pretty significant, pretty significant. And last year they got CJ at a bargain basement rate because New Orleans just wanted out of that relationship. So it kind of depends on the situation. I just don't think they value linebacker enough to send that kind of valuable asset in their minds, even a third round pick, Jody. I think fourth round pick, that's where it would start with me. If they can get them down to that, I think they do it. Those day two picks, man, it's going to have to be at a valuable position.
Get a day two pick back. You're giving up a day two pick and getting a day two pick back.
But I'm saying day two picks are off the table. From that at that position, I think
you're not trading a day two pick. You're giving up a day two pick and getting a day.
I understand. You're
that's what makes it.
You're talking about spot. You're talking about draft. You're moving up however many spots, so you still have the pick, but it goes from second. I understand what you're saying. I'm saying forget about day two. I'm moving on day two. I'm saying at linebacker it starts on day three with this team. I could be wrong. They need help at the position. That's just my belief.
Did Howie give up that day two pick for Ronald Darby? Again, I know position. Cornerback, he cares about. Running linebacker, he doesn't. But he gave up a day two pick and a player to get Ronald Darby.
Well, that's my whole point. I'm talking about the position. Look at them at cornerback now. They have Darius Slay. They have James Bradbury. They bring in Greedy Williams. They draft Calais Ringo. They still have Zach McPherson. I mean, they value that position. Linebacker, we're talking, hey, Nakobe Dean, you and your 35 snap, it's all on you. No weaknesses, baby. Go do it. There's a difference between their value of those positions ostensibly, or would you disagree with Rob?
No, I agree that they clearly don't put value online, but they haven't done that historically. You go back to the way they treated Jeremiah Trotter when he left after, what was it, 2003 season. So that's just been an organizational philosophy. But if they want a linebacker, well, actually, he's not going to be an edge rusher, right? Micah Parsons was in the building in Philly yesterday.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
You don't even have to go home. Just
Yeah.
put. He's all about that. But Mike is more. He's an edge. He's not really a linebacker. So not going to fit the bill.
All right, Mighty Man, Thursday is the NFL schedule release.
Maybe.
They're hoping for it. Yeah, they haven't completely locked it in yet, but when it does come out, whenever it comes out, game 1, night 1, Thursday night, not Amazon, NBC, first game of the year, Kansas City Chiefs versus who?
I think it could be a rematch of the Super Bowl. You look at Eagles and Chiefs in that as a potential matchup, and that's been one that a lot of people think could happen. It makes a ton of sense. I don't like to see inter-division games in week 1. I prefer seeing them middle of the season, later in the season. If you're going to have an NFC, AFC matchup, and that's the way it should start. And that was the last game of the season. It makes all the sense in the world for it to be the Eagles. Jalen Hurts coming off that contract, coming off that Super Bowl, Thursday night football at Arrowhead and whatever else it's called with those initials against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. Now, Rob, you have a lot of contact with the league office. You know, they got to make Amazon happy now. They got to make Fox, ABC. See how many? There's so many they got to make happy.
Black Friday game. You got a Christmas triple header. There's so many elements that go into this.
Are they pulling out the hair, or they have no hair left, like Jody and I, because they have too many cooks in the kitchen that they got to make happy. They got to make everybody happy.
That's why I think we're at Monday right now, and we haven't heard the official announcement that the announcement is coming. Normally, they're gonna milk it for a little bit and say all we have heard was they are hoping to, expecting to, just because last year it was released on that Thursday, whatever the date was, 10, 11, 12, right around there, and this would be the Thursday night. So. I think it's a little bit more complex, a little bit more complicated this year, the addition of a couple other elements to it. So, you know what, though? Those guys are all well compensated. The league is a $1 billion industry. I don't feel bad for them. All you got to do is set a schedule, make it happen, and do the right thing. Stick it. I'm sure you pop it into the system, and you get 1 billion different ways it can come out, and you choose the best way to go.
Rob, we haven't had you on since the Eagles made an addition to their running back room after the draft, as the draft was ongoing, adding DeAndre Swift in a trade with the Lions. We know they've already signed Rashad Penny. They've got Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott coming back, and a bunch of guys coming in to take a shot, either undrafted free agents or guys working out this week to try and get themselves on the 90-man roster. Miles Sanders scored a bunch of touchdowns last year, rushed for over 1,200 yards. Somebody's got to replace it. We don't think it's going to be any one individual. We'll jettison ahead to September. How are the touches? How are the carries? How are the plays going to leak out on the Eagle backfield this year? You got to guess.
I think it's hot hand. It's always going to be hot hand with this team and who's healthy. With Rashad Penny, obviously, we've seen an injury history. DeAndre Swift hasn't been able to play all 16, all 17 games. So it's whoever is healthy at the moment, whoever's got the hot hand. But that's what they do. They're a running back by committee. When you're paying those two guys, what is it, less than $3 million, about $3 million?
DeAndre's at like 1.8, and they paid Rashad $600,000 guaranteed. So
that's just, to me, it's incredible value you're getting at that running back position, and makes a ton of sense. We've seen up until this draft, we've seen where the running back position has been devalued to the point where teams aren't really picking top 10 and top 12. And of course, Bijan Robinson goes 8 and Jahmyr Gibbs goes 12. But I love what the Eagles do there. I think they have enough guys to where they'll be able to continue. Their run game starts with Jalen Hurts. When you hear people talking about how well they effectively run the football and what kind of it starts with Jalen Hurts and that offensive line. And if that offensive line is going to stay healthy and dominate, and if Hurts is healthy, it really doesn't matter whether it's Penny, whether it's Swift, whether it's Boston Scott, Kenny Gainwell, or a to-be-determined Trey Sermon, whoever it may be, right? I think those guys will be able to run behind that line and what Jalen Hurts adds to that run game and how they keep defenses off balance is such a big-time asset. So where I think they can get away with that and not have to pay Miles Sanders the money he's getting.
That was my argument during the Bijan or bust days here in Philadelphia, Rob. I was like, you got Jalen Hurts. You don't need Bijan Robinson.
It was never going to happen. Yeah, no. It was never going to. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm not in Philly anymore, where I'm listening to the talk radio daily, and I don't know how hot and heavy it got.
It was bad.
Gary. If you know anything about the team and have followed them and know how they just don't value, they're not going to do that. And I love Bijan Robinson. Love the kid. Sat down with him, talked to him. Think he's a extremely talented player and a very polished.
I think he's a great player. Yeah. But I tried to tell people is McMullen hates Bijan Robinson, McMullen. No, the Eagles aren't going to take him. I swear, Rob. I think people like to be lied to. I really
do. In Philly?
Yeah. They were never going to take him. It was never going to happen. And now everybody's happy with Jalen Carter. It's funny how that works out. But
I'm a little concerned there.
Rob, the much too early power rankings that you said you were kind of pushed into doing that you were a little uncomfortable doing. What were your top three teams in the NFC? How did you put the top three teams in the conference in what particular order?
Pretty sure I had Cowboys, Eagles, and 49ers. And the only reason I didn't have the Eagles as the top team, the only reason, I didn't have them as the top teams because I always feel that there's a little bit of that Super Bowl hangover we talked about. There's always a little bit of how difficult it is to lose a Super Bowl, get that close, and then you start to lose some coaches and you start to lose some players. And can you go through that? Like the Eagles were very healthy as a team last year. Like that offensive line stayed healthy. Like you never know if the injury bug is going to hurt them. Do I think they're the most talented team on paper? Yes. But because I factored in the intangibles and all that stuff, I actually put the Cowboys in the Super Bowl, which I know Philly fans.
It's a good thing you're in South Philly right now. You're down in Florida and not in South Philly.
I picked Bengals Cowboys is my early.
I like the Bengals. I'm glad Jody went there. I was gonna ask you who in the NFC. Now I assume you picked the Cowboys before you realized the Eagles had no weakness. Now you'll have to make the proper adjustments. But
and I love the 49ers. I think that they're going to be, assuming they can get Brock Purdy back relatively maybe by October. I saw him at the Super Bowl. We were not the Super Bowl, the draft. We were working out at the same. He wasn't there to announce the Mr. Irrelevant. He was there doing a little promotion, and we were working out in the gym at the hotel, and he's got the scar on his elbow, and he's a great kid. One of the 49ers who has never blamed Philadelphia or the fans or the Eagles and knows that the better team won that, but looks like he's on schedule, and I don't think he'll be ready for September, but I think if he can be ready by October, they'll be okay to go. So I think it'll be 49ers, Cowboys, Eagles top.
All right, so then let me follow up with that. Since you got inside info, you're on a treadmill next to him and you're saying
it's exactly what he was doing. He wasn't doing any heavy weight with that elbow.
How big was that scar,
that right, Jody?
How big was the scar?
Pretty big. It was nasty looking.
Okay. All right, so if that's the case and say Brock's got the right read, you're taking him at his word. October 1st, week 4, misses the first 3 games of the season. That's when he makes his return. Who's going to be the 49 quarterback for the first 3 weeks?
Sam Darnold or Trey Lance?
Darnold, baby.
Yeah, You still hear those rumors about Trey Lance. You still hear a little bit of conversation. You and I talked about this before on this episode on this show with the Vikings being a potential suitor for Trey Lance.
I love Kirk Cousins.
Johnny's still pushing the.
He loves him. Rob knows.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
Rob knows.
I keep hearing that Trey Lance and he's from that area and all that stuff that could have Sam Darnold. They also brought in Brandon Allen, right? They got
like 5 quarterbacks.
They got Nick Foles is available if they need another veteran in that room. So
Kyle's hilarious because Kyle and I'm sure you know Kyle a little bit. He reminds me of John Gruden back in the day. He would fall in love with a quarterback and then fall out of love quicker. He hates every quarterback he coaches except for Kirk Cousins. And nobody has ever stopped talking about it for years. About him trying to get back together with Kirk Cousins.
He's my guy Brock's his answer though. Just get healthy and there you go. You don't have to pay $45 million to a quarterback.
Well, here's the thing with Brock. I can only go with baseball. I mean, UCL, I don't see any way he's back. Even by October. And people have brought up Bryce Harper here.
I was going to say that Bryce Harper come back in July. Johnny Mack.
He's the agent, though.
He's the agent. This guy's got to throw a football. This is like a pitcher coming back.
Yeah.
That is not even.
Although it wasn't like a full Tommy John. I believe he had the brace procedure as well. I didn't ask him if it was the. I'll find out. But I don't think it was a full Tommy John reconstruction.
Well, that would help. All right.
Yeah.
Then maybe I can buy it a little bit more. September's. I can't even imagine September. I think October. They would count themselves lucky if he could be back by October. And who knows? By the way, that team is so good, Rob. I'll throw out this speculation. At Rob Motti, make sure you follow Rob on Twitter. Tremendous AP NFL writer. Nobody's more plugged into this league than Rob Motti. If you're San Francisco, say it's October, Brock's ready to come back. They're a really good team. We all know that. They're 4-0 with Sam Darnold, 5-0. You going to bench Sam Darnold at that point for a guy coming off a UCL injury?
It'd be tough to do. And in that division, like I don't think the Rams are going to be competitive. I think Arizona is going to be a potential last place number 1 pick in the draft kind of team. Seattle, it's upgraded for sure. They made the playoffs last year, but Gino's got to do it for another season. I think they can afford to come out of the gate at 2-2 even, guys. They don't even have to come out 4-0. But if they are 4-0, as you're saying, if they're 4-0, 5-0, it's hard to bench. It's hard to bench any quarterback for someone who isn't fully established, being paid gazillions of dollars. This is Brock Purdy that you would be benching Sam Darnold or Trey Lance or whoever's 5-0 for. I think it'd be hard to do.
And the thing is, you're judging him in practice because there are no games. There's no minor league rehabs for quarterbacks to show that their arm is okay. You just got to kind of throw them into the mix, which is going to be difficult. But it's going to be fun, and we'll be talking about Rob Motti with him during the season, about all this stuff, Eagles related as well. Go work out. He's going to go pump iron. Brock Purdy may just be on the treadmill, but Marty's going to go pump iron.
Heck yeah.
By his outfit.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, Rob.
Rob Motti from the Associated Press here with us on Birds 365. All right, running a little late. Come back. Final timeout. We will put a bow on the show.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
the greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia Dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake 'em out. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again? You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
We got John McMullen and Johnny McDonald here with you on Birds 365. We'll continue to break down the Birds for you on a day in, day out basis this week, but we're also going to add a little bit of an out of town look since it is
schedule week, supposedly.
If it happens on Thursday, we know the Eagles will be playing a couple of teams twice next year. Ended up, they played a couple of teams twice, including postseason stuff, which made it a third-time matchup with the Giants. The three teams in the division, Dallas, Washington, and New York. We're going to try and get somebody up from each of those towns. Guys we've had on the show previously when the Eagles match up against them in the regular season. Well, we'll find out when they're going to be playing them this season. We know they're going to play them twice each. So we got a Commander guy up, a Dallas guy up. I'm working on a Giant guy, a New York guy. But I'm going to add to the Eagle conversation by bringing in the opponents who the Eagles will be playing twice this year as the week goes on before we get to Thursday. Johnny, give me a percentage chance this thing doesn't happen on Thursday. The NFL says, yeah, you know what? Give us till first thing next week. Monday. Guaranteed we'll have it for you on Monday. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. We'll be back on Monday with the schedule announcement.
I'm going to give it, I'm going to give it a 10% chance. I think there's a slight chance it could happen. Pushback, because, you know, in the realm of the NFL media, the media arm, the NFL Network, all those guys, they're low man on the totem pole. So I don't think they give that much, credence to, promotion, and they'll change it if they have to change it. So I'm not saying great chance, but I'd put it at 10%.
Small. All right. Yeah. That's a good number. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Adam Schefter who first let it be known that May 11th was the target date. I don't remember if he was reporting that, extemporaneously talking about that. What does Twitter fall into for you?
For Adam, it's reporting, because that's what he does. He puts stuff on Twitter. Okay. For me, it's not. Yeah, but for him, it is. So, typically the NFL, yeah. I mean, you remember, Jody, it used to come out in mid-April. They pushed it back. They kept pushing it back. Now they have it in May. One of the reasons why is because they've made it into the big show and all that kind of stuff. But if they have to move it back, they'll move it back. It's not, it's not one of their pillars they're built on, that it has to be on this particular day.
Right. But Adam Schefter, since he reported it, he's going to have to clean the leg off his face. Or
not really, because he was told it. If you're told it and report it and they change their minds, I mean, it's not your fault.
Does he report that he was told that? We assume he was told that, but unless you're going to attach a name to it, is it really reporting it that?
Well, that's one of the things that people don't understand. You can't name a source if they don't want to be named.
Exactly. All right, Johnny McMullen and his sources will be here tomorrow. I will be here tomorrow. We're guaranteeing that the Birds 365 show will be back here on the JAKIB YouTube channel in 2 and 2.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.